in terms of the green transition, so let's talk about the green transition and perhaps focus the innovation on that space. What are the challenges that we see with innovation today?
Well, yeah, I mean, if we ask this question, right now we are in Q2 2025. You ask this question 2 years ago, 1 year ago, or even maybe a year from now, and the answer is always going to be changing because the world is changing very, very quickly, especially from a geopolitical point of view. So when we talk about the green transition, what do we mean by that? In many ways, just the shortcut way of thinking of it is really about transferring from, an industrial economy that's basically been running mostly on fossil fuels to one that can be also, decarbonized or using renewables. But long story short, transitioning so that there is, new industry that does not generates, the aftermath of what's is often considered, or science would tell us, is generating a lot of greenhouse gases. So, if you really double click on it, you hear the green transition all the time, and again, this can also mean many things to many different people, and it also invites um, some of the challenges that come around greenwashing. There's a lot of different ways that green transition can be used in a narrative point or format. To impact the ways that certain types of economies or services are positioned or framed, and it's been quite, as I'm sure quite politicized, and that's why I was mentioning when we bring this up, it really is going to be a place of debates, depending on where in the world you are and what room you're sitting in with whomever, because there's a lot of different opinions around whether or not this is something that needs to happen or when it should happen. And as we know, and maybe we'll talk about the ESG shifts that are happening in terms of investors, having possibly a little bit more of a backlash behind it, because the green transition, often in the most, let's say, the past 5 years, especially, a lot of public sector incentives have been there. So governments have been, in some cases, incentivizing switching to more, let's say, a decarbonized approach to industry. So that would mean very specifically, in some cases, solar being incentivized, wind generation, things like that. So this is something that has. It sounds really simple. I mean, it can, but the complexity around the debate and the conversations, it's endless, and, but at the same time, we're in a very different moment now than even, 10 years ago, because 10 years ago, the cost of actually using alternative energy that's not necessarily anchored on, fossil fuels was quite expensive, and now it's at scale to where it's actually, in many cases, the best alternative from an economics point of view as well.